You love Dungeons & Dragons. Now, experience the ultimate way to play, D&D Beyond. Take up the mantle of Dungeon Master to add friends to your campaign. Enable content sharing so that the entire party can access your books and content. Then, after you've noted who didn't bring snacks, unleash unspeakable terrors on them using the Encounter Builder and Combat Tracker. Ah, here we go. You never bring chips, huh, Dave? You get the gelatinous cube. Classic. D&D is for everyone. D&D Beyond makes it easy.
For those of you just joining us, I am here with Jeremy Blum to talk about some of the amazing creatures you might encounter in the Wild Beyond the Witchlight, the Feywild adventure book that is coming out September 21st, which you can pre-order right now on dndbeyond.com and get those beautiful, beautiful pre-order perks. I am also going to show off, because I forgot to do this before, but it's just really gorgeous.
Ooh, nice.
Just able to get some sneak peeks at these, and that is what we are talking about today. Last time we talked about the Jabberwock, and we are about to dive into a very different denizen of the Feywild, but one which I'm maybe even more excited to meet.
I find these guys creepier. But I also love them. To me, the Jabberwock is the less creepy of the two things we're talking about today.
Again, we need separate scales of like how lovable, how terrifying, how both lovable and terrifying, you know, just for everything in the Feywild.
It can be lovable, but this can also be so... this mushroom thing. Yes, this
What's a Campestri?
The Campestri, aside from just being this sentient little toadstool, like Toad from Mario, but also creepier in some ways. They're these little mushroom guys. They also last showed up in second edition. I believe it was another volume of the Monstrous Compendium annual, I think volume 1. But their deal is that they're little mushroom dudes, kind of like myconids. They are fungi, yes, and they sing. They sing in a really high-pitched falsetto. And so their voices go like all the way up to here, and then they're just liable to break your eardrums with their songs. There's this whole thing in the lore about like how if you teach a Campestri a song, it will imitate it. It will love it. It will sing it all night long, but it'll sing it in just that nasally falsetto. So like the example that they gave in second edition was Mary had a little lamb whose fleece was white as snow. If you sing that to a Campestri, it will interpret it as Mary had a little lamb whose fleece was white as snow. And then it'll just sing that over and over and over again and drive you and all of your enemies and anybody in the surrounding just insane. So that's why I find this creature slightly more horrifying than the Jabberwock.
But the possibilities are so enticing. I love that this also fits a similar theme. Singing flowers obviously feature in some versions of Alice in Wonderland. I suddenly can't remember which versions it does or doesn't, or whether it's original, but it's in the lore mix somewhere. And these little dudes, in addition to that, that stat block, they don't have an alignment, right? They're just kind of out there?
Yeah, they're just kind of out there. Their stats are... So one thing to note, and actually I didn't mention this in the article, but they have a challenge of 0, which means they technically qualify to become a sidekick. So if you ever wanted to have a little mushroom that you can just throw around and toss up at the bad guys' faces and sing in their faces, boom, there you go. You can have a Campestri sidekick. Which is, if you want to make a game where like you're Mario and you actually have Toad as a sidekick and I don't know, all your abilities are based on jumping, like boom, that's a great idea right there.
Oh, what a great idea. What class would Mario be?
Oh God, I don't know, maybe...
He's capable of picking up a lot of different temporary superpowers, so that makes me feel like spellcaster.
He could be like he could be like a spellcaster, or he could be like a fighter or a monk, probably some weird multi-class. You could have a party like Mario, Luigi, and then the sidekick is Toad, and then like Bowser is a turtle, and there you go. Just you could do a lot with that.
There's no reason you can't put these people in your Wild Beyond the Witchlight adventure, but you might run into more than one Campestri. How do they behave in groups?
Yeah, so regular Campestri, not that much to deal with. It's got like 2 hit points. You could squash it if you're not driven insane by its warbling, singing. But the swarm of Campestri, like a lot of other swarms, it can be a problem if it's antagonistic towards you. It can send out spores in a 20-foot radius. The regular Campestri can do this too, but the swarms is a little more annoying because it's 20 feet instead of, I think, instead of 5 feet. And if you got to make a DC 10 Wisdom save, and on a failed save, you're incapacitated and your speed is halved for 1 minute. The swarm can headbutt you, and instead of just a single shroom headbutting you, you've got shrooms just all over you, smashing into you, and it does an average of 10 bludgeoning damage, which it can be tough, especially for a low level adventurer. And of course, as a swarm, it can occupy another creature's space. It can move through any opening large enough to accommodate a single Campestri. And in combat, a swarm of these bouncing mushrooms can hop from one creature to another creature to another creature, singing that Mary Had a Little Lamb song all the while.
We also have an excellent suggestion from Aaron Lore, Campestri, but teach them the end song from Lamb Chops. It's really up to you what song these mushrooms might pick up, or your players if they decide to go that route.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just love these little folks so much.
One other
I
thing is
know.
that apparently bullywugs like to eat them. So if you that can introduce some interesting role playing at your table. If you got a whole bunch of Campestries blocking your way, just make some friends with the frog people. And apparently they're considered a huge delicacy amongst the bullywugs, who do not mind the fact that they have a really salty taste.
I love that specific detail, especially for we've been thinking a lot about the Feywild and how it has sort of weird rules and how it has to do with bargains and how it has to do with like thinking your way around problems. So that's one very interesting example. But I know you had a suggestion for how you might approach working Campestries into an adventure.
Yeah, so I really like the idea of these guys as kind of an alarm system. Imagine like imagine like a noble mansion out by the forest, and instead of your traditional alarm, trespassers are suddenly confronted with the songs of swarms of Campestries who are designed to yell at intruders. So that is the hook behind the adventure that I wrote on D&D Beyond, the Exiled Druid of Dim Branch. I imagine this little village called Dim Branch that's filled with the Druid community. Weirdly enough, all these patches of yellow mold have started to spring up around the community. And if you play D&D, yellow mold is some pretty bad stuff. And so the players come in and they talk to the locals, and the Dim Branch locals say that this is all because of an angry druid with a grudge against the town, a druid named Bolga Omphalo. She is a mushroom obsessed druid. And the townsfolk will be like, she lives over there in that swamp. We'll pay you this amount of gold if you go and kill her and stop this yellow mold infestation. So then the party has to go to the swamp, and then they go to Bolgra's hideout, and boom, it's covered in Campestries. Like, that is her alarm system. And you can either fight these things. There's a bunch of bullywugs in the swamp that you can befriend to be like, hey, mealtime. Or, maybe clever players will be able to outsmart the Campestries by singing them a song that's even better than whatever this druid has sung for them. And then finally, once you get past the swarms of Campestri, you get inside and you learn that the druid is mad at the town because she is a Circle of the Spores druid. And that's the druid subclass that's all about life, death, rebirth, resurrection, friendship with the undead. Creepy mushrooms are sprouting out of my skin and I don't really mind, like that type of thing. So this druid is she's pursuing a legitimate druidic circle. And will you side with her? Will you be sympathetic with her, or will you side with the townsfolk? There's your that is the quest line branching point where you can choose what you're going to do. And I think it would be fun to see the outcomes.
I love that. And I would love to hear from anyone who tries these adventure hooks, by the way, just because I love hearing how things go at people's tables. And speaking of feedback, I'm very happy to say thank you, Fallon Grimm in chat, who has our back, confirming that the Campestries first appeared in Dungeon Magazine 41, Old Man Catan and the Mushroom Band.
Nice.
Says they have that issue. That's amazing. What a treasure. And also what a fantastic title Old Man Catan and the Mushroom Band is. I have not run that one, and it sounds fun as heck. If my
Oh yeah,
personal tastes are coming
also
through.
great idea for if you got a party of all bards, you want to do an all bard campaign, all bards in a band. Who are your backup singers? Well, you've got Campestries.
I love that so much. And folks
Campestries.
who might,
I just had this
folks who
crazy idea.
we had a. What's your crazy idea?
Oh, my crazy idea is that Campestries are like the auto tune of D&D. Like you get them in there and they just modulate your voice up and down. It's really bad.
I love that. Thinking, what would the DC performance DC check? What would the performance check DC be to sort of get those tones close enough together to do, like, by physics, the appropriate modulation? I love that idea very much. What would be your advice on running Campestries as a DM in your campaign?
I would probably I would definitely encourage either potentially use them as an NPC sidekick or use them as a swarm in kind of that alarm sort of way. I think these are more interesting as obstacles than they are as just straight up monsters, because the singing is just so evocative and such a thing that's going to make the night at the gaming table. We've got 36 Campestri swarms just coming at us, and they're all radiating this intense song. How do we get out of this situation? I can imagine a heist adventure where yeah, you're a bunch of rogues and you're trying to steal the thing, but you've got Campestri that you need to outsmart. And I think instead of just treating them as like mobs to swarm your players and instead of encouraging your players to bash them, see if your players can sing a song to get them off your back, or see if your players can, take the other route around that maybe is not filled with Campestri, and maybe has some bullywugs that'll be able to offer you their gullets and for help.
Those are great ideas. And I love the way using the Campestries in a Feywild adventure specifically emphasizes the qualities of the land and the landscape itself. I think
Mhm.
I'm a big fan of sort of bringing in plant-based hazards and other sort of ways that the environment itself has a personality. In this case, because
Yeah.
it is a singing mushroom. Sometimes it's just very literal. But they're beautifully on theme, and I love that the Jabberwock and the Campestries show you sort of two sides of the dangers of the Feywild. One sort of strictly threatening with a psychological component, and one with this charming yet unnerving, but also technically dangerous, because if you're a first level character, being bludgeoned for 10 points by a bunch of tiny mushrooms would be pretty challenging.
What a
Um,
way to go, though. Just, Joe the Paladin stormed into the Feywild only to be beset by a swarm of Campestries, and now I pass his sword on to you, my child. Beware of the mushrooms.
Fertile and brilliant backstory material right there. Thank you so much. I think we have time. If anyone has any questions on the stuff we talked about, please throw them our way. But I believe the link should be running through chat if you want some more information from Jeremy's wonderful preview article on the Campestri on dndbeyond.com. And I do want to make sure folks are aware that the pre-order perks are fully announced for the D&D Beyond version of the Wild Beyond the Witchlight. You will get 8 beautiful frames, 8 beautiful themes, 8 gorgeous backdrops, and 1 set of incredibly cool dice specifically for the Wild Beyond the Witchlight. I think they're really lovely. And if you are looking for the super fancy versions for your shelf, like we talked about with Justice last time from Beetle and Grimm's, subscribers to D&D Beyond are going to have a code that will get you a discount on both the silver and platinum versions until the end of September. That code will be good. So it should be arriving in your email, or give us a ring and we'll help make sure to get it to you. A special code for subscribers for a discount on those Beetle and Grimm's. And if you get the Platinum Edition, it comes with a D&D Beyond code. I have too much good stuff to tell y'all, and I'm tripping over myself. We have a question that just came in. When you have an entire troupe of Campestri, what musical is the first one you'll have them perform? playing to the judge with this question, I can see. What would your answer be, Jeremy? I don't know if you're a musicals
Oh my
person.
God, no, I need to think for a minute. What would yours be, Amy? I'm buying time.
I think if the mushrooms are going to start performing a musical, they are Feywild mushrooms. So I feel like Peter Pan is an existing musical, and while it's sort of
Yeah.
adjacent from, it would be a good choice. Um, I can see it being very disorienting to have a bunch of mushrooms singing "You Can Fly" at you. But I feel like there's got to be a
It
more
would be
offbeat
hilarious to,
choice. What?
I don't know, it'd be so hilarious to have like all these mushrooms just start singing out like West Side Story songs, and to like to imitate all the snapping, they like, I don't know, they like jump up and hit their toadstool caps together, and it's just
They
this very
divide
like
into
on
jets
rhythm.
and
Yeah.
sharks, and they're threatening each
Yeah,
other.
yeah. There's two gangs of Campestries, the Jets and the Sharks, and they're on opposite ends of the swamp. And there you go. It's a strange
Well, now
Feywild reenaction of West Side Story.
I shall never know peace until I have seen a dance fight between two swarms of Campestries now. Thanks for that. Sincere thank you, Chad and Jeremy. That's incredible. All right, I do have one final piece of exciting news to drop before we wrap up today, which is that if you are watching this before this Thursday, the 16th, I hope you will make an effort to come back and join us here on twitch.tv/D&D Beyond as we welcome special guest Chris Perkins. You all know who Chris Perkins is. Of course, one of the leads on this adventure and one of the primary architects of D&D 5th Edition as we know it, will be coming to join us on stream, and we should have some time to take a few of your questions when that happens. So please get excited for that. Get ready to make some plans around these wonderful monsters. And Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us. Where can the people find you?
You can find me on D&D Beyond. You can see my articles about the Jabberwock, Campestri. I got another one coming out soon. I got some old ones, a bunch of Class 101 articles about the various subclasses from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. You can also find me on Twitter at Pixel Grotto, where you can read all about my latest campaign, misadventures, and recently the thumbnail for this episode was just tweeted out, and it makes it look like I am the Campestri. Like it says like Jeremy Blum gives you a monstrous sneak peek, and it's got like the picture of the mushroom there. And so now I think my avatar is forever going to be just like a Campestri from henceforth. That is my future career, just a Campestri commenting on tabletop role-playing games.
Please do that. What does it sound
Yeah.
like? Just out of curiosity.
My Campestri voice?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know. It'd probably be something like, "Oh, today on D&D Beyond, we're going to be talking about me, my swarms of mushrooms that do an average of 10 bludgeoning damage. Mary had a little lamb." Yeah.
I now strongly regret not asking you this at the start of the stream and making you do the entire episode in your incredible Campestri voice.
Oh, God. Apologies. Yeah.
Thank you so much. This has been an absolute blast. Please check out those articles. Please follow Jeremy everywhere he can. And I will see you all on Thursday with Chris Perkins here on D&D Beyond. Thanks so much.
It's D&D.